This is Epic Challenge, where we discuss, debate, and dedicate 20 minutes each week to a hot topic in the world of Warhammer. If you give a damn about tabletop gaming, then this is the show for you. Now, here are your hosts, Kicker and Nicky Dee.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Epic Challenge, a show that challenges your ideas on Warhammer so we can discover the Imperial truth, the heresy of chaos, and the obscurity of the Xenos. Kicker, you've been a couple days removed from Adepticon now. Does your voice box work?
It's like 90%. I'm a little raspy, but when I talk to small children, I don't scare them away, which is very nice.
That's good.
I'm actually
Especially,
feeling
especially as a father of small children,
yeah.
that's probably good.
My wife's like, "Don't talk to the kids. Like, just don't don't read them bedtime stories right now. Just don't." I'm feeling fantastic actually. I just had some really like damn good polenta. I feel like polenta is a very underrated food. Go out there, it's like grits but
I'm
fancier. I
aware.
guess I don't know. Yeah, I loaded up with cheese. It made my day. What about you? What's going on with you, man? Any highlights real fast?
I'm all good. I'm happy to be here. Before the show, just the quick green room chat. It's pollen season, and if like my eyes are bloodshot and I look nasty, it's because I'm being inundated with pollen. It's attacking me, and I don't like it at all. But we are surviving, and Kicker, we're gonna battle through it
We will
for
survive
tonight,
this.
and we're gonna battle through it for the rest of it as these things go. But Kicker,
Yeah,
let's
let's
get
do
to
it.
it this week.
Let's do it.
We've teased this out in our last couple episodes that we're gonna have a Warhammer here on the show. Who's our
Yes.
guest?
So we have a legit Warhammer hero. Games Workshop said so, which means you know it's true. This is a favorite person of both mine and Nick's, as
True.
he's been running and growing one of the biggest Warhammer charity events annually. He's also the captain of the Legion of Extraordinary Gentlemen, a fan of good doggos, and a Denver Broncos super fan. This is none other than JC Watts. Let's bring him in. Is he in? Let's bring him in. Come on, JC.
There we go.
Hey, JC, unmute yourself and let's chat. All right, man.
What's up, fellas?
Hey, JC. All right, man. Give us the quick rundown. First of all, where can people find you? Where do you live? Is it, you're not necessarily your home address. I mean, like what part of the country? Because not many people know who JC is, but not everyone. What are you doing? What is the big event of yours? Give us a little background.
Sure. So yeah, I'm JC Watts. As you mentioned, I captain the Legion of Extraordinary Gentlemen. We are based out of the central north. So I would say the central northeast in the states. I am the founder of the 21st Legion Wargaming nonprofit, and we are getting ready to put on our big event, which is the Battle to End Alzheimer's.
This is the one. Yes, it's
It
big,
is.
man.
It is our big one. Yeah.
How many
So
years have you been doing this? Because I know
this,
it's been long running now.
this is year 4.
Okay, cool.
We've moved out of Game Store. We've rented a community center. We have a whole bunch of space. We have 200 tickets available. 148, I think, have sold.
And JC,
So
that's just for 40K, right?
that is for 40K. We do have
yeah.
Kel Team and Age of Sigmar going at the same time. All 3 of which are golden ticket events from GW.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Well, this is awesome. As is tradition on our show, we always have to kind of keep ourselves accountable and talk about how we've been engaged in the hobby this past week. I'm going to kick it off real fast. I've been getting ready for Charity Cup. This is an event happening this weekend just outside of Vegas. I will be playing in the Friday Social, so I've been trying to get my last few models ready to go. But I'm really excited for this event. Part of this event, I know this is supposed to be very specific to the hobby stuff, but the event is kind of like Warhammer relevant.
Yeah.
I've been trying to scout out restaurants because I don't know this part of Nevada at all, and we're doing a big like everyone that wants to go grab dinner together on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
All are welcome. A bunch of us are all going. We're just opening it up. So I'm like trying to find restaurants that can accommodate large crowds of very hungry gamers. What about you, Nick? What have you been up to, man?
I've mentioned this on the last couple of shows that I haven't done a lot of Warhammer.
Yeah.
Kicker, this week I've done Warhammer. I've been
Yes.
Warhammering. I've been building my Terminators from the Leviathan set, which I will just say Games Workshop. I know we just got a balance update, but can you please make Blood Angels or just general Terminators, Space Marine Terminators better? Like they're one of the most iconic Space Marine units, right? And we
Yeah.
never see them. I want them to be good. I want them to be good. That's just
all
where
you
I'm at.
want.
So
That's all you want.
yeah. So I've been building my Space Marine Terminators. They look lovely. I'll be getting paint onto them, or actually, I'll have my commission painter put paint on them. But that's it. JC, how about for yourself? As in addition to getting ready for the Battle to End Alzheimer's, which is coming up this upcoming weekend when folks see this episode live, have you been working on your hobby progress for Warhammer?
Yeah, I have. We're doing a lot of team events this year, and I've been voted to run Imperial Guard. So I've been painting a lot of Cadians. But actually, as a treat, because I got everything I needed done, I started working on my first Warhammer love, which a lot of people probably don't know, which is Imperial Knights. I love Imperial Knights. They were my first army when I dipped my foot in the competitive. It's just something about a giant stompy robot that makes you smile.
Nice. Have you locked in your team for Challengers Cup? Because I know you guys are coming and representing in Challengers. Have you figured out what faction you're going to run?
Probably guard again. Yeah.
Nice.
And I think honestly, I don't think the team has changed. I think we're bringing the same team.
Yeah, awesome, man.
The team had a great experience with it last year. I'm a member of that team for those listening who may not know as that part goes. But yeah, we had a great time with it last year, and I think JC, I was looking at it this week to figure out who's going, what are we doing, and I think it's the same group, which is fantastic. We had a great time.
Yeah, well, there's going to be way more competition this year. Challengers Cup has gotten very large. I was actually on a call earlier today with Sports Salt Lake, the tourism department, backing us, and it looks like we might be able to expand. And we have a very long wait list. This is the big event in September in Utah. This looks like it's going to. It's already the largest 8-person team event in the world, but we're going to keep on growing.
Why not make it bigger?
Well, the hard part was the space, but if the tourism department sees, like, they're like stoked to see us growing, they're like, okay, let's do it. So we might be we're at 70 sold out already. We might be going closer to 80. So we're gonna see how much space we get. Yeah, this is insane, guys. Absolutely insane. So hey Nick, why don't you give the ground rules for tonight? Because I don't know if JC's he's not been on our show before.
Well, I was gonna say, Kicker, it sounds like the tourism department there in Salt Lake in Utah is giving you an epic challenge, which is what we're here for today. So JC, we are welcoming you to our epic challenge, and the point of this show is we're gonna go through some of the hot topics or points of debate relevant to the Warhammer community and our hobby. So our guest and JC today, that is obviously you, my friend. You're going to be bringing your informed, your educated, or maybe just passionate opinion, and you're going to help us understand your point of view as it relates to our topic for the night. So with this, we're going to go through, and tonight I will be the host. Kicker and JC, you guys are going to be squaring off, and we're going to try to get some different viewpoints on what makes this hobby great, what makes our Warhammer interest fantastic, and what we can do better to improve it. So with that, I'm now going to put on my Imperial Commissar hat. I know you guys are both guard players, but for the right here, right now, I'm going to be the guard commissar. I'm going to order us to move, and we're going to get started with tonight's show. So for tonight, what we are discussing is we're talking about Warhammer events. We're growing the events. We're growing the community, and specifically Warhammer 40K. It's an ever-growing and expanding game, but not every event is going to be able to stand on its own two legs. So today, JC, with you and with Kicker, we're going to discuss and discover how to make an event successful, the lessons you've learned through your experience in running events for multiple years. And sometimes it might be, hey, what are the lessons that other tournament organizers, what should they be picking up? And sometimes it might be, hey, what should you not do based on the experience of others? So that's what our topic of discussion is going to be for tonight. Boys, are you ready to begin?
Let's do it.
Right.
So first and foremost, and JC, we're going to start off with you, and then Kicker, you can give a response here as well, or provide a different viewpoint to it. First and foremost, let's talk about tournament organizers and the background work. Now, for most of us as players, we're showing up the event, we're rolling dice, we're putting our list together, etc., and we just kind of expect that the event runs and happens. But we know there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. So, when you're running an event, how much time and how many people are actually involved with properly running and planning an event? And for these purposes, we're talking about a 40K GT. We're not talking about a one-day RTT, that you run on a Saturday. We're talking about an event like JC, like Battle to End Alzheimer's, or Kicker, as we're talking about for some of the things like that, that you're going to be running, like the Chariot Cup. So what goes into it? How many people are truly involved to make this happen outside of just you as the person? So JC, we'll start with you.
Well, in terms of how much work it is, it's basically a second full-time job. It takes I mean, we've been working pretty hard at this for 6 months, and it still really wasn't enough time. I still feel like I'm like dying for time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, in terms of like that, it's a lot. There's a lot of time, a lot of love goes into it. In terms of people, this year's BEA, let's see, there's 6 people on the nonprofit board, all who contributed. I've got a judge staff of 5. Probably 15 people have had their hands on at least at some point doing different things. Yeah, I had to learn to delegate this year. It was hard. But no, it takes a team. It takes a group of people who you trust with something that's precious to you, and it takes a group of people who are also passionate about making an event where people enjoy and come back.
All right,
Sweet.
JC. Kicker, we'll go back to you. I may have some additional follow-ups for questions for JC, but
Okay.
Kicker, what do you have when you're running events and what goes into this? How, what is that support team like that goes to running these events?
Well, I want to first touch on the time, right? Because JC mentioned it's basically a second full-time job, and that is true. That is very true, and that is one event. When people try to do multiple events a year, then think about it. It keeps them compiling and getting crazy. It is silly how much time is invested to put these events on. I am very fortunate. I'm blessed that this is literally my full-time job, and I do 7 events for Green Banner. But it is just it is a lot, and even in me with as a full-time job, I'm having to work about 12-hour days, and a lot of times that rolls over into weekends and stuff. So it's a little wild, but you know what? The everyone that does this does it because they love it, right? And what do they say? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's kind of how it feels, right? So, but it is a lot of time commitment. The key factor, I think, was specifically about time, is that once you outgrow your, let's just call it what it is, free space. So like your local game store, or maybe a facility that you get from like a local school for free. Once you outgrow that free space, that's when the time really becomes exponentially increased that you have to invest. It's just crazy. We're talking the green room, but you're gonna have to start looking at renting tables. You're gonna have to start looking at things like insurance. You're gonna have to look at fire marshals and codes, and it just gets bigger and more challenging. Just as soon as you leave that free space, that RTT, that you're hosting in a little local game store, with people, with people, it's a little interesting. You can have a lot of people all doing very small jobs, or you can have a very tight team that is dedicated and compartmentalized and really focused on what they do. So with Green Banner, there are 4 of us. Each one of us is, let's just call it what I say is a professional on a respective thing. And the 4 of us are really able to do a lot because each one of us is very competent in our fields, and we work like the dogs. We don't stop. I coming from Adepticon, I did see something else a little different. They had a huge team of people, and everyone focused on a very small thing. So it was a little bit more. So I think there's 2 ways to go about doing it. It's a matter of how you want to organize your team, or I guess the total number of people. JC, what do you think, man? Nick, do you have another question for JC on this one?
Yeah, I was going to say, JC. I mean, when you started the Battle to End Alzheimer's, how big was that first event? Like, what was the size and scope of that?
I believe we had somewhere in the 70s to 80s. It was pretty good. It was
That
pretty
was
good.
year one. That was year one.
Yeah.
Well done, dude. Well done. That's huge.
There's a lot, right? Like it wasn't I can't take a lot of credit. We had a lot of people who made contributions, which let it happen, and to get where something like that. But we've been very fortunate that every year we've gotten bigger. We've never gone backwards.
Cool.
And JC, I guess what's the biggest surprise to you from running an event standpoint? Because it's one thing to say, hey, I want to run an event for a specific purpose, and we've touched on the Battle to End Alzheimer's a little bit, and when we get to the end of the show, we'll give you a chance to expand on it more broadly. But when you go from running an event, what was the biggest growth point, or what was the biggest surprise to you that when you had this idea you didn't think of, but when you had to plan it out, you actually had to spend a lot of time doing it? What was that big element for you?
Well, first I think, and this is kind of the first thing was how rewarding it was. Right, I did all this thing and people going and having fun, because at that point I'd only ever played in tournaments, right?
Yeah.
So seeing people go out there and have fun and getting feedback and saying it was a great time, that was a big thing, and I put a lot of joy into it. It really makes you it's really made me appreciate people who judge, because it's not just knowing rules, it's conflict resolution, it's problem solving, it's having to be the mom, the mean dad, but also the nice mom at the same time.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, there's a few times where I've judged where I've wanted to, I've been really excited, and there's been a few times where I've wanted to scream. It's unbelievable. So yes, high five or hug your judge if you're watching us and you're listening. Next time you go to an event, because they need it, they've earned it.
Yeah, and I know some of the judges that you bring, JC, to the events as well, and we've been talking about judging a lot recently on our show and on our series about how important it is, and it's something where I think Kicker and I are both very serious about having good judges. Makes people know you are serious about the event and that you are making sure that everybody there has a good time at the event, and that's one of the areas where I think at least credit to you and the folks. There's a whole team there running the battle to end Alzheimer's, where my own experience there as a player for it, that you've put that part of it very much front and forward, that you're showing up, you're gonna have a good play experience. Win or lose, doesn't matter. Everybody's gonna have a good experience there. And kudos to you for doing that.
That's the most important part.
Yeah, it really is. So, all right, I'll move us on to question 2 here, and getting into what we're doing. Another part about events, and it's an interesting topic. And I know, Kicker, you and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
JC, I know in our Legion of Extraordinary Gentlemen chat, this has come up a couple times. More events are starting to pop up on the calendar, and that can be a difficulty. We all want to go and play more Warhammer events, right? That's absolutely true. But with more Warhammer events, it has to become a little bit of a, hey, do you pick and choose what events you're going to? And players are now traveling hundreds of miles. Sometimes they're crossing countries. Sometimes they're crossing continents to attend these events. So timing is everything. What do you, as an event organizer, consider, or what do you communicate with other organizers and other players in your area when you're launching this event? And then how far in advance do you need to appropriately communicate these updates? So, JC, again, we'll start with you. What is your planning and consideration going to with engaging your local community and other local TOs when you're planning to run an event like this?
So we're very fortunate that our excuse me, our community communicates and works very well together. We have like a system going where a certain store 1 always does the first weekend, store 2 does the second, store 3 does the third, and store 4 does the fourth. So we have a rotation that's already set, and we pick a weekend. Whenever I go to make an event, I pick a weekend, or I pick which weekend I want. I talk to the store, I let them know that something's going to happen. All those stores are huge supporters of the event, so they have no issues postponing or canceling their event for that week. But honestly, the biggest thing that we do is we check our calendars for the big ones, right? There's huge events all over that are they're not just tournaments, they're experiences, Nova, Adepticon, stuff like that. And as proud as I am as the event, as much fun people have in it, I know I'm just not going to compete against things like that. So we make sure to give those events their space, so that people are available to come, because people do want to come. You just have to be mindful of the community too.
Yeah, JC, as it goes to this part, before over to Kicker on the response, you talked about like some of the other local stores and events. These other local stores that you're understanding, communicating with, I expect these are parts where between you and other members of the team, other members of the organizers for the battle, like these are events where you're going and supporting these stores. It's not as if you're just going in and asking them to move their schedule, right? These are stores that you're actively involved with, so they understand the community. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I personally judge for one of them, like on a schedule, just doing their monthly events. One of our guys does events for 2 of them. We have basically everybody in our group TOs for 3 of the 4. So they're stores that we as a team, and me personally, have great relationships with. So it's a communal thing.
Yeah.
And all of them have really bought into the battle and Alzheimer's, and they've all been huge supporters, which makes it all way easier.
Yeah, I think that's an important part, because we've seen this with different communities or different events trying to stand up around their own events or GTs. You absolutely need to communicate with your locals. You need to know your locals and understand that timing there does matter. Kicker, from you, and you're coming from a little bit of a different standpoint, obviously, in running events across the country, but what are your considerations as it goes to, hey, when are you running? When are you planning events? How does that fit in? And how are you engaging with local communities to support those events?
Yeah. So for starters, it is crucial that you talk and collaborate with the existing stakeholders in that immediate region, right? So an immediate region I usually classify as 2 to 3 hours of a radius, if you will. In Utah, where I live now, we have an amazingly tight community between all the different club leaders and store owners and whatnot. I'm running 3 events for Green Banner in the state of Utah, and I'm so lucky that every major TO in the state is so collaborative, and we have a chat. And we at the beginning of the year, many of us actually got together in person to discuss the year's rollout. So it was like very in sync. Make sure we're all respecting each other's dates and that we can all back each other up and really grow. I think For an average size GT level event, you really don't need to be so stressed out about looking at what's happening in Nebraska if you're in Florida, right? Like it's just not a factor, guys.
Doesn't
I'm
matter. Yeah.
sorry. It's not, if you're doing an event in Houston, like you really don't need to worry, all the way over to Alabama, maybe Louisiana, maybe, but like the radius is only so big for something like that. Where it gets dicey or tricky is if you're running something super, super large, like the Challengers Cup. That's our big 8-person team event. That is not only a large event, but it's also targeting a specific part of the player base. Those are the highly competitive traveling groups. So those are the same people that are also going to go to the LGT. Unfortunately, that's another highly competitive event that people travel to. Unfortunately, their dates were pre-planned. Our dates were pre-planned, and we both released our dates and found out, oh no, we're on the same weekend, and that kind of sucks. Unfortunately, that just happens occasionally. There are so many events around the world that eventually there's going to be overlap, but you really do want to try to avoid being over the same, I'd say the same month as another major event that targets that key kind of part of the market. I've already reached out to the LGT. Hey, so what do your dates look like for 2026? We sold out, but I would have liked to have more European,
Yeah.
specifically UK teams. We've got a lot of teams coming in from around the world, but I know at least 2 UK teams that wanted to come, but they're like, it's way cheaper for us to go to London as opposed to flying across the ocean and going to Utah.
Not just across the ocean, but then 3/4 of the way across the
Yeah,
US as well.
yeah, exactly. So I think that that's the only time. And if you are having one of these super major events that are super competitive, then yeah, you do need to respect things like like a Depticon or Nova or whatever, these big ones that are or like what we got now, Warhammer Worlds, the big GW one,
Yeah.
right? Like if you are targeting competitive players, you can't do anything in November, or you can't do anything, that same weekend at least. It's gonna get challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel awful for anybody who wants to do a breast cancer tournament in October because
Yeah.
that's a Shark Tank of a month, man.
Yeah. Oh man. No,
Definitely.
totally. And the charity angle is right. There's a lot of people that will travel or support a charity event. And if you have 2 large charity events at the same time that yours is happening, JC, like that could get weird. But yeah, generally though, I think that most people, especially people that listen to this podcast, are doing your average size GT. They don't really need to worry outside of that 2 to 3 hour radius if there's something happening that month or not. So
Yep.
anyway, where are we at, Nick?
Yeah, we'll go to question 3, and this is my favorite question of the night, I think. Maybe until we get to the bonus questions, but a big part of running events, and there's a lot of Warhammer. We're not necessarily dealing with a shortage of Warhammer events, but there's different quality of events and different players that go to different events. So what I want to talk about here is how do you make sure that you're engaging with your local community, but especially JC, you're running a charity event and trying to really bring in a lot of players and also really bring in a lot of support for the event and for the charity that you're working with, and there's a part of that where we're looking to also make sure that you're bringing in a high notoriety of players, and so I'll call it out here to battle to end Alzheimer's, for example. This year on the registration list currently are Matt Laura and Mark Kertel, right? The past 2 winners of LVO, which is the biggest singles tournament, right? Notably missing from that, Jack Harpster. Jack, you're 3 years ago prior winner of LVO. You're still welcome to come to the event. We'll still have you as it goes. That tickets are available. But how do you look at balancing, your local community, bringing in and trying to make sure that you're bringing in those top ranked, those ITC, those high elo players? Does that go into your consideration at all? How do you balance that? Is that something that event organizers need to think about when they're running events?
I think on paper that yeah, right. You want to try to target like to get people notoriety so people see it on them on a roster they know. That's not really how I approach it. I play a lot of Warhammer. I go all over the place and I meet people, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of what's gone in the BEA and what I think makes it special is its relationships because it's people that I've met. I have the dice, I have the shirts, I have the objective markers. I tell people about it. Like we do all this stuff. Come out, you play Warhammer. You can hit me with pies. Like it's always a good time. And you go out and you meet people and you have fun and you tell them about it and they start coming, right? So there's different ways to do it. For me, it's relationship building. So you go out, you meet people, you have a good time, and it just kind of naturally happens. People want to come out and see what you're doing and support, and it's kind of easy. It's Alzheimer's, you go to a room with 100 people and you say put your hand up. Somebody who's been affected by it. 80 of them are going to put their hands up.
Yeah.
It's a very personal thing. People feel very strongly about it. So if they have an opportunity to do something that they love that also supports some like solving something that sucks, it's easy sell.
Yeah. All right, Kicker, how about for you? What is this going to from your perspective on event planning and as you're rolling out new events?
I mean, it definitely helps, right? There's no doubt about it to have people that are content creators or very accomplished players promoting your event. But I think what's really important for TOs to do is put your own personal ego aside or your thoughts aside and listen to the players. If you're a year 2 event or maybe it's just your first event, but you know your community well, what do they want? Is this event going to be hardcore competitive? Well, then okay, maybe you do want to get a few sharks in there because it adds credibility. But if your play group or the community that you plan to cater to is a little bit more chill, I mean, it's probably not that necessary, right? I thought it was really interesting. Adepticon is not like they were very chill. They were not trying to be a Shark Tank. They were trying to have a good time, and that was really an emphasis there. Have fun at the event. It's not yes, of course, winning is cool, but it wasn't like they were trying to pull in players. Hell, Stephen Box was there. He didn't even play in the tournament. He was not playing, right? They probably could have asked or given him a free ticket to play, but it wasn't really at least from what I saw, was not really that important. So I think it's important, like if your event, yes, is going to be hardcore, cutthroat, competitive, sure. Get those coaches, those sharks, those really good players. But realistically, is that what the average ticket holder, average ticket person really cares about? Maybe not. Maybe if you want to get people that are in line with them. Get some of the like super acknowledged, like get some of those hobby goblins, right? That paint beautifully. And if you want to have like a really high caliber of opponent with people, you got something to say, go for it, Nick.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, this is one of the parts you just mentioned the hobby goblins,
Yeah.
Kicker and JC. I think this is one of the things, just knowing your events as you've run them and just generally our community in the Mid Atlantic area. It's not just about the competitive play,
Yeah.
right? And it's about curating a community that's interested in, are you having a good time? Are you interested here for the hobby aspect? Can you,
Yeah.
JC, can you speak a little bit to that and how you've engaged with different communities as you've gone to different events, that how you're being, you're there playing at events, but you're also working as a representative for this event and actively bringing in other, let's call it, just cool people to hang out with and want to play Warhammer for a weekend. Like, how does that fit into this for you?
It's just natural. Right, you just meet people and you talk. Like, so the hobby goblins, right? We got connected with those guys because I've met Dean at a couple of events, and then Jake and I met at Atlantic City a couple of years ago, and we just ended up talking for like 2 hours about hobbying, about painting and stuff like that. And the artists, the fun thing with BEA is we do raffles, and the artists love it. They love a chance to show off, the flex, and to make something beautiful to raise and make a bunch of money. And so the hobby goblins are a huge example of that. They made a whole series out of it. You can shameless plug for those guys. If you look up their channel, right? They did like a 6-part series painting a Gargant for Age of Sigmar. It's
Awesome.
crazy.
That's awesome. And they also raise the standard of your event, right? If you have a bunch of players coming in with beautifully painted armies or beautifully displayed boards like Adepticon, there's so many people that come with that, then everyone else is like, oh, I better step up my hobby game too. So as now people go and they have this great experience where every single one of your opponents has this beautiful, presentation of an army that you're going to get to play for 3 hours. I mean, it's cool stuff, man.
And we're even adding a paint competition this year. We have our own. It's called the Purple Palette, right? So if you've been to the Nova before, you know. So we're doing our own version, right? So you can have your competitive muscle where you put your 60 of your 30-year-old Catachans on the board, and then they are what they are. But you can also paint some of these gorgeous new Creek models up and flex and show them off and get some swag for your efforts. So
cool.
It's just more ways that we can show off the hobby that we love.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity here, and I think that's one of the things I love about Warhammer events, and certainly we talk about it where some people talk about it. It's like, hey, you're going and playing at a tournament. Well, are we playing at a tournament or are we playing at an event? And I think there's a slight differentiation between the two, and there's some players that are going for a tournament, but for a lot of us that go and are going playing at a 2-day GT or a 3-day major, something like that, we want to go for the events. We want the spectacle. We want the hobby part of it. The competitive play is part of it. And this is one of those areas where I would just say, generally, don't yuck someone else's yum as it goes to this, right? When you're at the event and that part of it, if someone is there and going to win the entire thing, good, great for them. If somebody is there and going for the best hobby, the best, that part of it, that's also great. If they're just there to hang out and have a great time with their friends for the weekend, also great. We're all there playing Warhammer. That is something that we should celebrate. And I think, that's a part where JC and Kicker, I think both of you, that's something where, both as you're running events, like that is the prevailing thought, and something that I think just generally in this hobby, whether you're at events or whether you're just thinking about going to events, just go and do it. Create your own community, grow, find your own community. It's out there for you.
And
So
we were just talking about the hobby stuff. I feel like we were a little poo-pooing on the competitive stuff, and we should say that some events, that is what they're gearing towards. Is
yeah,
they want super competitive, Shark Tanks. They want that. They want it to be ruthless. Cali Cup has the best players in the country, if not world, come in there to battle it out. And so if you're going to go in there, you're probably going to play some sharks. You'll probably have a really good learning experience, right? That's an opportunity for you to play. If you're like an average player, you get to play some of the best players in the world, and that's a pretty cool experience too. So that's where you want to kind of lean hard into. Okay, let's get more. Let's get more. Okay, we got Art of War. Like I know because we're working on it right now. We've got Art of War. All right, now we're getting Innis from Stat Check. Oh, we're getting another Stat Check guy. You start to bring this whole collection of all of Team USA is coming. So it gets kind of cool. So you kind of want to find that angle and lean into it. But yeah, no, this is really cool. I like this. I like this question. That was a fun one.
yeah. All right, so I'll move us to our wild
Oh, yeah.
card questions for tonight. We're cutting the break lines. We're going wild card here.
Let's do it.
Two wild card questions tonight. And the first one, and this is one, especially Kicker, I was kind of inspired you coming from Adepticon, where Adepticon it's not just a Warhammer tournament.
Yeah.
And JC, I think even as you've been doing Battle to End Alzheimer's, right? It started as a Warhammer tournament, but it's expanding to other game sets. I think even BEA this year is going to have a D&D session.
Oh, no way.
That's going to be
Cool.
there and available. So we're moving to this world where it's no longer just a Warhammer tournament, which to me is very, very cool. So when it comes to this, we're moving Warhammer from tournaments to conventions. What's one thing that you would, like to see, JC and Kicker? What's one thing you would like to introduce in future events or in future years? Maybe it's not this next year, but like, what's one thing, ideal situation that you would like to have in your event? And again, maybe it's next year, maybe it's 10 years from now that you would like to have your event. Aspirational goal. What would it be?
Take it away, JC.
So there's two things. There's one thing that I've wanted to do from the start that wouldn't probably be directly tied to it. Maybe we could do it like the Friday of, or even a weekend before or after. I've wanted to do a gala for a long time, something where people can dress up fancy and go out for a night and have a good time. Because I've always wanted to find a way to include people who aren't war gamers to support the cause, right?
Cool. It's cool.
But on the nerdy thing that I want to see, I really want to do cosplay one year. I want to see people dressed up as cool stuff, man.
I mean, JC, there's nothing preventing you from doing the gala and cosplay all in one go.
Perfect.
Just letting you know. Just letting you know. Okay. Great suggestion there, Kicker. How about for you?
I really, 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 really want a bounce house. Just like, it's just a bounce house. I see it at little kids' birthday parties. I'm like, why can't we have a bounce house? No, in all seriousness, a bounce house. But also esports. I know Green Banner is set up to be, it's already running esports in a separate world. And I'm like, well, why don't we kind of merge those two? There's a lot of overlap between somebody that plays video games and someone that plays tabletop. And I think there's a lot of synergy there. I think that in between rounds, it'd be kind of fun to see what's happening on the esports tournament up on a big screen. So we're already set up to do that. We're doing we're bringing a few rigs for our event this weekend, not for our tournament, just for funsies.
Yeah.
But later this year, we're going to be rolling out some of the esports components at our tabletop tournaments, and I'm really excited to see the engagement and what people think from that.
Okay, two ideas or thoughts I'm going to throw back out to you guys. JC, Maryland here, we got to have a crab feast at a tournament at some point.
Yeah,
separate from the wargaming, because we'll get Old Bay on the models, and we don't want to do that.
Nasty.
That is a fundraising event that is probably coming soon.
Yes, let me and my wife know. We will be there, and we will be donating lots of money to eat many crabs there. The other part, Kicker, as you were talking about the bounce house here, it just makes me think, as you're going around the bounce house, it just makes me think, and JC, it's great that you're our guest on the show, because as you're going around in the bounce house, it just makes me think of a call line or a breakdown line from JC, one of our favorite bands, A Day to Remember. Disrespect your surroundings. Yes, where it's just that part, like, when do we get to have this? We're a ways away from this, boys, but we can make it happen. When do we get to have like an opening night concert for a Warhammer tournament, right? When do we get that to
awesome.
happen?
Yeah, I love that.
Aspirational goal. Again, aspirational goal, but can we have a bounce house with A Day to Remember playing before a tournament?
That is the goal.
While we're here, while we're talking about it. All right. Question number 2. You two are both Imperial Guard players and both big fans of the Imperial Guard. So, a question that is very specific for
By the
both
way,
of you as
thank you for
guests
using
today.
the correct term Imperial Guard. None of this Astro Militar
No,
nonsense.
that's
Guard all the
garbage.
way.
That's
Yeah.
garbage.
All right.
No,
All right.
it's
All right.
Imperial Guard. Is Warhammer a better game? And I hate that I have to ask this question. Is Warhammer a better game when Imperial Guard are overpowered as a faction? JC, what are your thoughts?
My heart has an answer and my brain has an answer. My heart says yes because I'm a sucker for pushing tanks around and I love doing tank things. And usually when guard are busted, that's why. However, as somebody who loves the game and loves a healthy meta, when you have something like an Imperial Guard tank line that's busted and people can't interact with it, it's bad for the game. They're going to be everywhere because everybody and their uncle has 13 Lehman Russes in their, in the back of their car. And it leads to a stale, uninteractive game. So, for the good of the game, probably not. But man, I love it.
All right, Kicker, how about for you?
So like I get a real high. Like I don't do drugs or anything, but I get a real high when I'm the underdog and I win a game, right? Like I like when
yeah,
guard,
okay.
like I like when guard are bad and I take them and I win, right? Because that just makes me feel good. When guard are good and you win, it's like it's not as exciting. But actually, I, guard can be really oppressive. So you don't want them to be too overpowered because, like, man, it can be powerful. I do think that it's important for guard to be a common army taken, much like
Yeah.
orcs, because if it's a non-skew list, so a non-skew orc list, a non-skew guard list, they're just plain fun to battle against. You'll get to kill a lot of stuff. It's engaging. It's a fun like you know I think that players, especially new players, they get to play against guard. At least they get to kill something, a bunch of infantry
Right.
or something. Which there are some other armies out there where you just don't get to do much, and it sucks. So anyway, no, they shouldn't be overpowered, no matter how badly I like. This no guard should not be overpowered. What do you think, Nick, as a non-guard player?
I have to say, some of my favorite or most memorable game experiences have been a bit against Imperial Guard.
Yeah.
And it's one of those parts, but like to me, it's generally an item where a balanced or non-skew Imperial Guard. And I think
Yeah.
that's the part of it where it just to me as a
Non-skew.
non-guard player, because you can go, mechanized, you can go non-mechanized, or basically I don't want Bulgrin spam essentially, where it's like give me a non-Bulgrim spam Imperial Guard army, and I can have a fun time playing against it. Again, some of my most favorite games I've ever played in this hobby are playing against Imperial Guard. It's an iconic army to play against, and I
Yes.
will say this part of it as well. Like when I've been at game stores or at events, there are few armies that catch the attention of potential or future players as well as Imperial Guard does.
It's
So
super
that is
relatable. Yeah. I mean,
yes.
you know what you see. It's what you see, what you get. It's not this weird crap. Like, no offense, but Eldar, like, what the hell is that? I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
You see these little Power Rangers that are able to take down Titans, right? But a tank is a tank is a tank. You can't,
Yeah. I think generally to me, the two armies that get people most excited were just, hey, they don't know what Warhammer is, but they see the army and they get excited. It's Guard and Tyranids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like those are the two that I think people will get most excited about. But all right. Well, gentlemen, we're going to wrap up for tonight. JC, my friend, thank you for accepting our epic challenge, and thank you for coming on the show to talk about how to run events, how to grow a community. This is something that's really important, and this is something where we selected this topic and JC as a guest, not as an idea or. Sometimes we're trying to poke at some kind of spicy or controversial topics, and we didn't want to go controversial with this one because this is an area where we know it's important to you to grow and expand your event and grow the hobby, and that's something that generally we want to do. We want to be positive about this one, but bringing in some different thoughts, and there's so many different ways that you can expand the hobby and expand the community. So JC, thank you for coming on. As we wrap up here, the Battle to End Alzheimer's, when this episode does come out, the Battle to End Alzheimer's will be coming up this weekend. It will be streamed on War Games Live. Is that correct?
War Games Live and Tactical Turtles will both be there streaming.
Wow.
Okay, so all right, so if you want to watch some fantastic game coverage with some of the best in the business here in the U.S. here, as it goes in just anywhere when it comes to watching Warhammer 40K, be sure to check out those. JC, if people want to be checking out the Battle to End Alzheimer's, maybe get a ticket last minute, or if there's any other kind of charity items, is there somewhere that they can go to look and find more information or learn more about what you and the 21st Legion are doing in support of these great causes?
Yeah, so specifically for the Battle in Alzheimer's, we do have a Facebook page on Battle in Alzheimer's. So our socials are where we keep all of our updates posted. There is a link to the site where you can purchase your tickets. And then by the time this is live, we will have an online raffle going. So you can from home browse, take a look, see. We have a lot of really gorgeous stuff going up this year, and you can take it home. For $5 ticket, spin the wheel, have a good time. The events, 12th and 13th, Star Center in Havre de Grace, Maryland. It's gonna be it's already, we broke the record of last year. It's the biggest tournament that's ever been in Maryland. So I look forward to breaking it next year, and I look forward to doing awesome things this year.
Yeah, JC, real quick. This will be the 4th year, so you've run it for 3 years. How much money has this raised for the Alzheimer's Association over the prior 3 years?
We're definitely close to 60 grand. I don't have a set number, but yeah, it's been insane.
Okay, JC, I'm gonna issue a challenge here to the Warhammer community. I'm gonna use my prerogative as a host. 60K over 3 years. Last year was the biggest year yet for it. Let's hit 40K this year. Let's get that number for year 4 up to $100,000. I think we can do it. JC, what do you think?
I think anything's possible. People get excited enough, so let's do it. Let's build the hype. Let's do awesome things.
Absolutely. All right, JC, thank you. JC, I will see you there at the Battle to End Alzheimer's. Kicker. Sure. This next week, what do you by the time this episode airs, you will have been at Charity Hammer. Yeah. Anything else you want to plug as it relates to
Charity
the
Cup? A close
Charity Cup. Okay,
yeah,
there we go.
There's so many charities, which is great, right? So he's supporting his cause. We're doing the U.S. Wargame Federation to get more gaming in schools, get communities that don't have terrain, that kind of thing. I think that's really awesome that there's so many events that have this, key, I guess, focus, right? JC, I really want to say thank you, man. You're not only doing good for the gaming community, which is great. You're adding like you said, the largest event in Maryland. That's awesome, man. But you're also doing great for your charity, right? You're bringing in real money and really helping out. So I love that, man. And I think that if it was right next to you, I'd be giving you a big old hug. So seriously, man, thank you so much. For me, for me, guys, I am going to be nonstop working on bringing in some of our one of the amazing people that I met while I was at Adepticon. So stay tuned for next week.
Okay, sounds good. All right, JC, thank you, appreciate you. I'll see you at the Battle to End Alzheimer's. Kicker, have fun at Charity Cup. I got the name right this time. There we go. All right, there we go. It takes 2 or 3 times to get this part here set, but and for all of you listening and checking out the show from the audience, whether you're watching us on YouTube, whether you're listening to us on Spotify or on Apple Podcast, our newest stream that's there available. Mm-hmm. We appreciate you checking in for this epic challenge. Enjoy your Warhammer, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Epic Challenge. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And be sure to check out Green Banner Event Co., the ones who help make this show possible. Tune in next week for another Epic Challenge.